They call it the Lobo, which is Spanish for wolf.
So, should we be worried?
Alright, now that we have escaped the big bad wolf, it is road test time. Welcome to the driver's line. I'm Greg, and this week we have the Ford Maverick LOBO with us, and a huge thanks to Ford for lending us this cool little street truck.
And I'm Jordan, and if you like car reviews, news, and shenanigans, like our European road test, go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe for more automotive action. Now, let's see what this Maverick LOBO can do. Alright, so let's kick it off with how this Maverick LOBO looks on the outside. I mean, the second you spot it, you know this is not your run-of-the-mill Maverick. It's lower, it's wider, and it just looks meaner.
Yeah, Ford basically took the baby truck and gave it a wolf costume. Compared to the standard Maverick, the LOBO sits about half an inch lower in the front and just over an inch lower in the back, so it looks hunkered down instead of perky.
Yeah, and it's not just the drop. The styling makes it pop. Up front, you get a unique painted front fascia and a gloss black grille. Black trim everywhere and a blacked out Ford badge. It's the most aggressive face you'll see on this Maverick.
Plus those wheels, we've got 19-inch turbofan style alloys, gloss black and wrapped in some Goodyear rubber. They totally changed the stance. A regular Maverick looks practical. This one looks like it wants to bite some ankles.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of stance, here's the numbers. Overall length is unchanged at over 200 inches. Width is about 72.6 inches, and it rides on the same 121-inch wheelbase. Height is right under 68 inches, but since the LOBO's lowered compared to a regular Maverick, it really gives you that sport truck silhouette.
Absolutely it does. So, that's really wild because those dimensions make it really compact for a truck. I parked this thing next to an F-150 and it looked like a little sibling who stole Big Brother's leather jacket.
Yeah, and around back you've got another blacked out blue oval, a unique painted rear bumper, and the same Maverick sized bed, just over 54 inches long. So it's still plenty usable, but styling leans more towards like that street performance vibe versus Home Depot.
Yeah, the carbonized gray metallic really sells it from a paint color. So it's only one of 4 choices on the LOBO, but the darker paint with the gloss black wheels almost looks custom, but it's straight from that factory in Hermosillo, Mexico.
So the exterior is the story here. Ford didn't just stick a badge on it, they lowered it, they gave it a whole new vibe, completely changed its attitude.
Yeah, if the standard Maverick is the sensible sibling, the LOBO is the one sneaking out at night to go to a rave.
Yeah, so there's plenty to like about this Maverick styling. What's some things you don't like about it?
We've kind of beat this drum in the past before, but I think this would really benefit from some better color options, right? There's only 4 choices, and only one of them is an actual color, Velocity Blue. When you think back to the mini trucks of the 80s and the 90s, they were vibrant, right? And this one is gray. It looks great. Not gonna lie, but I want to see something just a little bit more, irreverent, a little bit more wild.
Yeah, I'm with you there, and I think another step in that direction could be to take those rally-style wheels and put some white ones on there. We know they're available on other vehicles, so why not do that on this car? I think that would really make it pop. It would give it another kind of like nod to that 90s vibe.
Yeah, cough, monkey, cough, whatever. Give us some of those white ones, right? That'd be really cool, especially on the blue color. But one of the other things would be great would be some graphics.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be mandatory because not everybody digs the graphics, but just give it some sort of a cool, interesting, maybe even like Radwood vibe, right? Like that would just be a lot more fun and really kind of steer into the mini truck, street truck appearance for this thing.
Yeah, I think almost this is it's attractive, but it's almost like too reserved. Like, let's just go wild.
Yeah.
Too classy.
Absolutely.
All right, so once you're inside the LOBO, it feels almost as different as the outside. Ford went for these black ActiveX trimmed bucket seats, and everything feels darker and sportier than the brighter options in the other Mavericks.
Yeah, the seats themselves are super unique here. So we've got 2-tone stitching, we've got a really cool LOBO logo, but the bolstering is kind of a bit of a letdown for the sporty truck. These seats look cool, but they've got little to no lateral support.
Yeah, fortunately the space is just as good as any other Maverick. So up front we have 42.8 inches of legroom, and in the back, passengers have 35.9 inches. So even though the truck looks compact, it's totally usable for adults to do a great job utilizing space in this.
Yeah, which is kind of hilarious, right? You've got this tough, lowered, wolfed out exterior, but back you can haul your friends to Taco Tuesday without anybody complaining.
Exactly, and that's the story inside. The Lobo doesn't reinvent the Maverick interior, it just sharpens it up with trim and stitching and sportier seats, resulting in a vibe that kind of matches the mean look on the outside.
Yeah, it feels the right amount of special, but you do find a bit of hard, scratchy plastic kind of here pretty much everywhere, which is easy to stomach when, the base truck was like 25 grand, right? But now we're sitting in a $42,000 Lobo, and it doesn't really just fit.
So we all know I like tech, and the tech story in the 2025 Maverick is actually a really big one because Ford finally gave it the right updates that people were asking for.
That's right. So now in the middle, you've got this 13.2-inch touchscreen standard across the lineup, running Ford's latest Sync 4 system. It's faster, it's sharper, and includes wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto now.
Yeah, and over here, the fully digital gauge cluster is new too, and you can customize it a bit, and you can see your driver assists, trip data, fuel mileage. It makes the cabin feel a lot more modern compared to the old setup.
Yeah, and our tester has the 702A package, which is pricey at over $5 grand, but it loads the Lobo up with pretty much every toy, including Ford's Copilot 360 Assist 2.0. You've got adaptive cruise, lane keep, evasive steering assist, and an awesome 360-degree camera setup, so the truck is definitely watching your back.
Oh yeah, and you can also get the Bang & Olufsen premium audio, which sounds pretty good in a cabin this size. It's got ambient lighting for those upscale vibes at night too.
Yeah, don't forget comfort. So the package also throws in the sunroof, dual zone climate control, heated front seats, and a heated steering wheel as well. That's the kind of stuff you really usually find on big SUVs, not on a compact truck.
Well, my favorite party trick is that Pro Trailer Backup Assist. You just twist the dial and the truck basically handles the trailer steering for you. Anyone who's ever jackknifed a camper at KOA, that's worth its weight in gold.
Absolutely, yeah. You don't want to be the one everyone's pointing and laughing at while they're enjoying their dinner when you can't back up your trailer.
Absolutely.
So, anything you don't like from an interior or technology vibe of this truck?
Well, I think, when the Maverick first came out and they were saying, oh, it's under $20,000, I think the interior appointments for that were completely acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
But there is just a lot of cheap materials in here. And we get the whole point of, hey, we're 3D printing stuff, we're using recycled materials, that's great and all. But if I'm spending over $40,000, I would like maybe a couple nice upgrades there.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, there's just hard plastic everywhere, and it doesn't feel nice. And when you're spending this kind of money, you're going to want something that's like soft touch where your hand's going to naturally land, but you don't have that anywhere here, which is kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
The other thing that bothers me are these seats. They're comfortable, but this thing is tuned so well. It's actually a really good corner carver. We're going to get to that in a few minutes of performance, but these seats just to give you no lateral support. It almost feels like you have no exterior lateral support, like your thigh just kind of wants to fall off the edge of the seat when you start pushing it through a corner.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. I do think they did some nice sporty nods towards the Lobo package, but I do think in addition to bolstering, there could be some kind of more special touches added to that interior for sure.
Absolutely.
All right, so that's enough about our interior. I think it's time that we swap seats and you took this Maverick for a drive.
Sounds good. All right, now I get to drive and we get to talk about the best segment, power.
And handling and efficiency.
Yes, all of that. And that's what really separates the Lobo from the regular Maverick. You can feel it right away. The stance is about an inch lower, and the suspension is firmer, and the steering feels a lot more responsive.
Yeah, Ford dropped it about half an inch up front, over an inch in the rear, and they retuned the springs and shocks. Even the steering rack, it's not pretending to be a Baja truck, but it's kind of like this more street-focused Maverick.
Exactly, it changes the personality. The regular Maverick feels light and practical. The Lobo feels tighter, buttoned down. It wants to carve corners, which is something that you haven't said about a small compact pickup pretty much forever.
Yeah, I mean, Ford carries over that 2.0-liter EcoBoost Turbo 4. It's optional in other Mavericks, which makes 250 horsepower and 277 pound-feet torque, which puts the power through a 7-speed quick-shift automatic, and standard all-wheel drive, which is just enough for this almost 3,900 pound pickup truck.
Yeah, and that results in some 0 to 60 times of about 6 seconds, which will, trip the lights in the quarter mile, about 14.5 seconds at 105 miles per hour. So it's not fast, but it feels quick, and the torque comes on strong right at throttle tip-in.
And remember, that standard advanced all-wheel drive, the Lobo gets a twin clutch rear drive unit that can send torque to one side or the other through that torque vectoring Lobo mode. So that's going to help you rotate like a Ford Focus RS on the auto track course.
We also have a host of other drive modes. We've got Eco, we've got Normal, we've got Towing, and Sport. And Sport and Lobo are definitely my two favorites because they help the truck feel really planted and kind of even a little bit playful. Not something that you usually say about a small truck.
Yeah. And efficiency is still decent too. You're looking at about 23 miles per gallon on the city, 29 miles per gallon on the highway. So even with that extra performance gear, it really doesn't guzzle gas.
No, I've been driving this around for about a week and averaging about 25 miles per gallon, which is kind of right in the middle of what you would expect, between, highway and city driving. So really not bad from an efficiency standpoint. So, is there anything you don't like about the performance of the Lobo?
Well, I mean, kind of like the exterior, I feel like there are some things about the performance factor that just aren't quite there. Like, we just want it to be kicked up a notch. And part of that is the quick shift transmission. So we know that they kind of modified it from that 8-speed to tune out that second gear to allow it to handle that extra performance and to make it feel a little more snappier. But really, when you're using those manual shift modes, there's quite a bit of a delay there.
There really is. It doesn't feel great ripping those shifts off because it definitely does not rip those shifts. It just kind of loafs into the next gear. So quick shift is not the best name for it, but it's what Ford chose.
Right.
The other thing I'm really not a huge fan of, and this is just just a feature pretty much of every turbocharged engine, the power really peters off quickly. So you have this really aggressive, great throttle mapping at tip-in, but then it just kind of fades off really, really quickly. And you want it to race all the way to red line, but it really doesn't make a lot of sense to race, keep going into red line.
Exactly. This truck has a lot going for it in terms of performance, but we both feel like we could kick it up another level with this Lobo package, maybe even an RS trim.
I know, that would be really cool. But, we want to keep it at the same price.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
That would make a lot more sense at this price point, is to have something just a little bit higher performance.
And how cool it would be to have a manual transmission in this. It was available, right, on the Focus RS way back when, and it's not like Ford made it. They just grab it from the same manufacturer, pop it in here. That'll be so fun.
That would be such a cool truck. Come on, Jim Farley, make it happen. All right, it is time for Would You Rather.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to pit this Ford Maverick Lobo against 3 competitors and say which one we would rather have.
That's right. The Lobo isn't cheap. It starts at about $37,000, and our tester rings the register at over $42,000 delivered, thanks to that fancy 702A equipment group. But let's see if there's something that we would rather have.
Yeah, and starting up, we have something that I've become very familiar with. It's the Santa Cruz Limited, $42,000 base price, 281 horsepower, a 2.5-liter turbo, a little bit worse on gas, 19 miles per gallon on city, 27 highway, but 6.3 seconds to 60. What do you think?
I don't know, it's almost as quick as this, but that is a nicer interior, but this is a lot more fun to drive. So I think I'm going to have to go with the Lobo.
Ooh, okay. All right. Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I think the interior on that blows this away.
Oh, it does.
And the dual clutch transmission in that also blows this away. And the engine feels a bit stronger. Well, it doesn't actually. They're pretty similar, I would say. The styling on that is pretty hideous.
It is.
So if you can close your eyes, I'm going to close my eyes and take the Santa Cruz. Because
you don't have to see it when you're driving it, right?
Exactly. You're behind the wheel, right? I do enjoy the way that handle's fine, but it's probably not to this level. But that interior just really is fantastic. So.
It is. Fair point.
Okay, since I know you love the Passport Trail Sport, how about the Ridgeline RTL? That starts at $42,000. It's got 280 horsepower, 3.5-liter V6. 18 miles per gallon city, 24 highway. It's a little bit worse on gas, but 0 to 60 in 6 seconds.
Ooh, I did really love that Passport. It was such a great driving car, great interior materials. That engine was superb. This is more fun to drive, undeniably, but for the same price, that's a lot nicer vehicle. So I'm going to go with the Ridgeline. I kind of feel awkward saying it.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Ridgeline myself as well. I think that it does present a lot of better features in terms of its size, its interior appointments. It's got that V6 power. You know, I just feel like it's a little bit kind of a step above this for the price that you're getting.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
okay.
All right, well, how about our last option here? So our last one is kind of a throwback to a time when Nissan decided to be relevant. It's the Nissan Frontier SV four-wheel drive. That's also $42,000 with options, 310 horsepower, so quite a bit more powerful, a 3.8-liter V6, horse on gas at 17 city, 22 highway, and a whole 7 seconds to 60. But it is a Frontier. What do you think?
It is a Frontier, and that's like an actual truck, right? Like it's body on frame, you know, full truck experience, things of that nature. So it really kind of, for me, it depends on what you want, right? And so I don't need a truck. So I think I would be fine with this. The utility is offered really, really well. I think the interior in the Frontier is probably slightly nicer than this, which is kind of surprising from Nissan versus a Ford, but I think I would take this just of the fun to drive factor, and it has the utility that I need.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and actually agree with you on that too. I think the Frontier is fine, but I think if you're looking for a body-on-frame truck, there's better options. So when you're doing these face-to-face, in terms of an on-street competitor, I think that this actually gives you a fair amount of what the Frontier offers, but it just offers a lot more handling performance, which I really like. So I'd probably go with this one as well.
All right, well, there you have it, guys. So let's go ahead and find a spot to pull off for our final thoughts. All right, guys, so we have pulled off for our final thoughts here at the Roy J. Menes Nature Preserve here in the Uharis to talk about this Ford Maverick LOBO. And so some of the things we love about this LOBO is how it looks. This thing looks absolutely great. Love the black trim, the black wheels. This color actually really works with the truck. We still love more colors, as we said, but this color actually does really work. Makes it a really cohesive package.
Yeah, I mean, when you park this by a standard base Maverick, you can really tell Ford put some thought into the design of the LOBO. They bumped up the styling, but didn't go crazy with it, right?
Yep.
Another thing that we really love about this Maverick is the performance. Ultimately, it has a nice amount of power for the vehicle size, but the handling on this is really what sets it apart. I mean, when you're talking about a pickup truck, it's fantastic. It's really excellent. It almost kind of feels like a hot hatch in a way, right? Not quite there, but it really steps it up compared to other vehicles in its class.
For sure, and the technology upgrades for 2025 are really superb. So we've got that new 13.2-inch touchscreen across all Maverick trims. Works really well with Ford's Sync 4 system, and the Copilot 360 2.0 works really, really well. We've used it a lot. It almost works as well as Ford's Blue Cruise, but you don't have to pay a subscription here.
And another thing that's really great about this Maverick that stands out in this segment is the fuel efficiency. You're still getting 30 miles a gallon on the highway, but it's punchy. It's got pep. You don't step on the accelerator and like, what is going on? No, it surprises you with that acceleration, but you can still get really great fuel mileage on those long road trips, which these will undoubtedly be doing.
Yeah, but also the performance caters to some things we think could be a little bit better. So we're gonna get to some of the things we don't like. And for $42,000, which is what this thing costs, we would want a little bit more elevator performance. So it's got about 250 horsepower, 277 pound-feet. But if you gave this thing 300 horsepower and maybe just a little bit better gearbox, this thing would really pop.
And that's the thing. We know Ford engineering, what they can do, right? And we know it's a tunable engine. People can get a lot more power out of these. It would be great for Ford to offer that from the factory with the warranty for folks, especially at this price point. Not to mention, we would love to see a manual transmission in this because it can adapt into this platform, and we know it's out there. So we think there's a lot more room for improvement, maybe like a Maverick RS. But for the price, yeah, we definitely feel like probably could be a bit more in there.
Absolutely. And you know, that's kind of one of the challenges with this vehicle, right? Ford has gone out of their way to build a sport truck, a mini truck, going back to like the Radwood era of stuff that we love, but they've kind of given it a maxi price.
And on that fantastic revelation, it's time to end.
Thank you so much for watching.
We'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us on The Driver's Line. Hit that like button to subscribe for more car reviews, specials, and podcasts.
A special shout out to our partner Drive Shop for fleet management, keeping us fueled up and on the road, enabling us to keep bringing great content to you. All right, so since I know you love the Passport Trail Sport, how about the Ridgeline RTL? All right, so base price is right about this one, $42,000, but it's got 280 horsepower, a 3.5 liter V6. Definitely worse on fuel economy, 18 miles per gallon city, 24 highway, but 60 seconds to 0. 60 seconds. Nope. All right.
60 seconds. That's pretty slow.
Fuck! Hold it. All right.